The Kingdom of Iuedo was a place of deep, silent misery, ruled by the fierce Oba Queen Eweka. 20 years had passed since raiders, the Vipers, had attacked the land, stealing her newborn baby girl in the chaos. The Queen's heart had never healed. Believing herself cursed and barren, she had sworn to make everyone around her feel the hollowness she felt, becoming a tyrant who hated the very sight of happiness. Her anger found its favourite target in Osariemen, a young slave girl of about 20 years. Osariemen was strong but weary, carrying the weight of the Queen's sorrow like a stone on her shoulders. One afternoon, during the midday meal, Osariemen was tasked with serving the Queen. Her body, starved and exhausted, betrayed her. She staggered slightly, and the fine red palm oil stew meant for the Queen splashed onto the Queen's expensive silk dress. A chilling silence fell across the court. The Oba Queen Eweka rose slowly, her face cold and terrifying. "Filth!" she spat, her voice tight with fury. Without a word, she grabbed the bowl of stew and violently splashed the remaining hot oil and food directly onto Osariemen's chest and face. Osariemen stood perfectly still, dripping and stinging, trying to see through the burning oil. She refused to give the Queen the satisfaction of a tear. "You wear the king's food like a badge of honour, slave? Perhaps you would prefer a proper bath." A few days later, while Osariemen was cleaning the Queen's bedroom, the Queen stormed in, overcome by her usual self-pity. Finding Osariemen still damp from an early morning scrubbing, the Queen grabbed a heavy ewer of water and angrily drenched the girl again, pushing her hard against the cold wall. "Tears are for the weak, slave. You remind me of the old days, of pain and loss." The Queen's hand shot out, slapping Osariemen hard across the cheek. But even in her fury, the Queen failed to notice the unique mark on the girl's neck, hidden beneath her tattered collar and bowed head. The kingdom's wise elder, Chief Osagi, carried the true secret of the lost princess. He tried one last time to warn his queen. "The river that forgets its source may rage against the rocks, but it is only hurting its own home, my queen." Chief Osagi advised gravely. "The water it casts away will always find its way back, but the river will no longer recognise its own reflection." "Then let the river rage!" the Queen screamed, deaf to his wisdom. "There is no home left for me, only dry rock and endless bitterness." The climax of the Queen's cruelty arrived a few days later. Osariemen, exhausted, was dusting the chamber that held the sacred golden pot, a relic of the first king. Her legs finally gave way. Her elbow struck the pedestal, and the golden pot crashed and split in half. The Oba Queen Eweka arrived to the sound of the broken treasure. She did not scream this time. Her voice was dangerously calm. "You have broken the soul of the kingdom, slave. Your body must pay." She ordered the palace guards. "Tie her up!" 20 lashes of the raw ox hide. Let every ounce of this sacrilege be beaten from her bones. The guards quickly dragged the trembling Osariemen to the whipping post. They ripped her tunic to expose her back for the lashing, tearing the thin fabric completely from her shoulders. The Queen stood close, watching the first painful lash descend. But as Osariemen's head snapped back in agony, the Queen's eyes fell, not on the bloody welts forming, but on the exposed curve of her neck and shoulder. There, dark against Osariemen's skin, was a distinct, unmistakable mark. The coiled serpent, crowned with 2 crowns. The Queen's hand rose, trembling, pointing at the slave's neck. The guard paused, the whip mid-air. The Queen's face was a mask of confusion, her cruelty momentarily forgotten, replaced by a deep, unsettling dread. The queen's hand rose, trembling, pointing at the slave's neck. The guard paused, the whip mid-air. The queen's face was a mask of confusion, her cruelty momentarily forgotten, replaced by a deep, unsettling dread. There, etched by nature onto Osariemen's skin, was a distinct, dark mark. Not dirt, not a bruise. It was the birthmark, the coiled serpent, crowned with 2 crowns. The Oba Queen's breath caught in her throat, the golden pot, the whipping, the guards. It all vanished. 20 years ago, as she lay exhausted and terrified after giving birth amidst the chaos, she had used a midwife's needle and a secret herbal dye to tattoo the twin crown and serpent onto her daughter's neck, a royal protection charm against the vipers. Only the midwife and Chief Osagi knew the true nature of that mark. "Stop!" the Oba Queen shrieked, her voice a cracked, high sound. "Release her! Release her now!" She stumbled forward, pushing the guards aside, her regal composure utterly shattered. She clawed at Osariemen's shoulder, staring at the mark. The serpent! The twin crowns! Just then, Chief Osagi, alerted by the commotion, rushed into the courtyard. He approached the queen and slowly opened his palm. Resting in his hand was the small, worn wooden trinket, the twin crown piece. "My queen," the elder whispered, his voice thick with sorrow. The girl was found with this, clutched in her hand. She looked from the mark to the trinket, and then up at the face of the slave who had endured her every cruelty. Her daughter, her long-lost child. A terrible, heart-wrenching sound escaped the queen's lips, a sound of agony and horror. She sank to her knees beneath the whipping post, the weight of 20 years of misplaced rage and grief crushing her. She had poisoned her own well. The revelation had silenced the palace. Oba Queen Eweka was moved from the whipping post to the dust of Osariemen's dungeon cell. She wept over her daughter's scars, begging for forgiveness. But Osariemen, the slave no longer, was an unyielding stone. She sat on the cold floor, her eyes hard, pointing to her arms. "The pain of the lash is gone," Osariemen whispered, her voice scarred like her body. "But the pain of the word filth, that is etched into my soul. You taught me that my life was worth less than a broken pot. You did not lose a daughter, queen. You lost your humanity. I have no mother here." The queen's pleas were met only with the cold echo of her own past cruelty. Days passed. Osariemen refused the queen's touch, refusing to be called princess. Finally, Chief Osagi came to her. He did not ask for forgiveness. He spoke only of the vipers, of the chaos of the raid, and of the queen's 20 years of dry rock bitterness, a queen trapped by the curse of her own grief. "The true queen does not hold bitterness," he advised. "She heals the fracture, even if the gold can never be whole again." Osariemen looked at the small, twin-crown trinket she was clutching, the one her mother had saved. It was a sign of love, hidden by fear and shame. Slowly, the cold in her heart began to thaw. She understood that her mother's cruelty was an illness born of loss. "I accept the woman who suffered," she told the elder, "but the queen who inflicted suffering must still earn my respect." The next day, the palace gasped. Osariemen emerged from her chamber, no longer the scarred slave, but the rightful princess of the Iuedo kingdom. Dressed in the rich silks of her ancestors, her braids woven with cowrie shells, she moved with the strength and grace she always possessed. Her scars were not covered. They were her history, a testament to her resilience. Queen Eweka, humbled and finally healed of her bitterness, bowed her head to her daughter. The people of Iuedo, who had seen the slave girl beaten, now cheered for the princess who had returned. Osariemen's reign of healing began immediately. She did not rule from anger. She ruled from the profound, hard-won knowledge of what it means to suffer. The river had finally returned to its source, bringing life, not rage. The tragedy was complete, and the triumph was eternal. Princess Osariemen became the most admired ruler the Iuedo kingdom had ever known, a symbol of justice and forgiveness. And so, the story of the Iuedo kingdom taught one eternal truth, that the greatest cruelty we inflict is often blind, rooted in our own unhealed pain. But the greatest strength is not revenge, it is forgiveness, the ability to look past the scar and choose healing over bitterness. The tragedy was complete, and the triumph was eternal. This is the powerful story of the slave who became queen. Her life proved that even the deepest wounds can heal, and the most broken kingdom can find peace through compassion. Click, subscribe, and share this story of the slave who became queen.